The Business Owners Podcast is brought to you by Business, Business, Business and Enova Group with your hosts, Linda Reid Enevar and Clive Enevar. In each episode, we talk to other business owners about their experiences, challenges and successes. We'll also share tips and advice on how to grow your business and achieve your goals. If you're a business owner or you're thinking about starting a business, then the Business Owners Podcast is for you.
Hi everyone, Linda Reid and everyone. Welcome back to the Business Owners Podcast. We are going to go rogue today just before anyone notices. So the format that you're used to is not going to be the same today because Clive is away and Aileen and I have decided we're just going to change the plans as we got here. Aileen Day is my guest today. She is a user experience CX, human CX, or Aileen, as you would say, because I'm not going to say it as well as what you would.
Customer experience, sex advisor, employee, human experience.
Fantastic. Aileen has a book called The Joy of Sex, which is not the version of sex that you would think it is. So today's episode, we are going to talk about customers. We're going to talk about employees. We're going to talk about whether you're a team of one or not, how to have a human-centric, how to have a fun, how to have a workplace that works for you, the people that you supply, the people who work for you, and all of those areas along the way. Aileen, would you like to introduce yourself to our community?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I love the business community and have been a part of it for quite some time now, and probably not long after I went into business, to be honest. So that's well and truly over 6 years, and it's an absolute privilege to join you. And I guess as for me, I help organizations from micro to small business to medium and large enterprise with their customer experience. And for the most part, that means helping them design their business in a way that the customers that spend their money with them want to come back, and not just have to come back, but genuinely love it so hard that there's no other reason that they could think of going anywhere else.
So I know I talk a lot about repeat customers and having people come back and making them part of your brand ambassadorship when you put your marketing together. Now, we've mentioned a couple of words today. We've mentioned a terminology called CX. Let's explain to the listeners what CX is all about before they get confused. And guys, you might see it as CX, you might see it as UX out there. There are multiple ways that this terminology comes out, but let's break our jargon down first, because as marketers, we're awesome at that.
Oh yeah, we're mad for some acronyms. So CX stands for the customer experience, and predominantly the customer experience in its meaning is to understand that the customer experience is the sum of all the touch points you as a consumer would experience interacting with a brand. So those touch points, in fact, start before you even know that brand potentially exists to fit your need. So from a marketing point of view, that's really important to understand who are you marketing to, what is the job that they need to get done, how can you service them to make sure that the products and services that you sell are fit for purpose and make them want to come back for more. And then it's the touch points from them finding you to purchasing from you to the lifetime of whatever that product and service is. And then I would even say it's years after that. And so in my book, I give an analogy about how you potentially are still years after using a product or service, still micro-influencing others around whether or not to use that same product or service. It can go for a long time.
That is a really, really key thing inside this space. So guys, we will include a link to Aileen's book for you to be able to get it in the show notes and all of those sorts of things to make sure that you are understanding this, because a good business read is a good business read, and I feel we need to do them
It's
along
a bit different to the standard business read, I'll also add.
Absolutely. But you want to have it something a bit different in that area, because we're talking about a different user experience.
Correct.
I was running a marketing mindset workshop the other day, and I kept saying to this group that we had, and I'm sure, Aileen, this is where I would say user experience or CX or whatever we want to call it, a customer experience along the way comes into play. And the first thing I said in front of all these ladies who were scared to market their business, I don't want to do marketing, I'm scared, I don't want to be salesy. I said, you're not selling. You are providing a solution. Correct. You are educating and providing a solution to the market that is out there. And that doesn't matter if there's 3 or 4 of us out there doing the same thing or 100 of us out there doing the same thing. Your solution is provided to your customers in the way that you want to do it.
Absolutely. And I would say there's also, if the industry you're in has heaps of competitors, then perhaps change and reframe that into collaborators. How can you join in partnerships? Because power in numbers, baby.
Absolutely.
I have a number of advisors that I collaborate with. Some do CX, some do employee experience. And the reality is that for me, collaboration with my competitors means that we bounce off each other, we work together. It removes the loneliness from some of the, being in business.
Yep.
But also, I'm not for everyone, right? We haven't figured this out yet, but I swear I act like I'm one of the guys in some situations. I did come from Bunnings. My dad was a sailor, so there's some environmental things that have come out of there, but I'm not for everyone. And I can absolutely appreciate that. But that doesn't stop me understanding who I can be for and providing my service to them. And the frame of mind that I have in that sense of selling and marketing is it would be a disservice of me to my potential customers to not put myself out there, because some people
100%.
don't want the suit and jacket and the politeness and the niceties. They want someone who's raw and candid and just gives it to them up the butt that like they need, right? And I've got people in my circle who can give them that, but where they need something else, those people also work for me in that sense. They're like, hang on, I think you need Aileen. Let me introduce you.
100%. And that is, if we look at it and we look at it from a business relationship point of view, that's providing user experience. Right now, I've got a deal that's sitting on the table with a potential client. We are the 2 service providers who are looking at providing services. I'm here in Australia, the other one's in Europe. The conversation is going on about how do we best work together to help this person. And I'm like, that person's really good and he could do what I do, but I will position, I'm a little bit like Aileen. I'm not going to hold back my punches. I'm going to go, that'll work, or no, that won't, or you do have the time for this, or you don't have the time for this. For those of us who know us in business, we live in a house with 2 coaches in the house. Like, it's always fun inside this space here, but there will be times where Clive will take on a client and the client won't fit my team and my marketing needs, or vice versa. We take on a client and we know they need a strategist, but it's maybe not going to fit Clive's business strategist component point of view. So if we even think about user experience and customer experience from the start of the moment that who we make referrals to, because I have had clients that have worked with Clive, they weren't ready for me. They now are on my books. And they've been on my books for 2 or 3 years now. But if I'd taken them on at the absolute point in time where they thought they wanted the magic marketing pillars, I like to call it, that customer experience would have been horrible. Now, they wouldn't be an ongoing client here at Enova Group. So sometimes we've got to realize when we need to refer people out to have that experience. So, Aileen, come on, tell us your experience. What we are covering now about our personalities and not being for everyone, that is a customer experience.
That absolutely is. I, on purpose, design the way that I work and interact with clients, with their clients. I do a fair bit of work with clients. And, in the sense of even I'm a clinical therapist as well. And most people, when they kind of experience my clinical therapy side, would expect some white coat attention. And I genuinely don't do that either, to the point where when I was doing my psychotherapy training, my teacher was like, you can't be this in a therapy session. And I said, I can, because I can't be anything else. I can't genuinely be anything else. And so now when I market to my desired target audience, it is genuinely me telling the client that when you sit in my therapy room, that you will get an experience that feels like you're talking to your best friend if your best friend was qualified to help you with your mental health. And so what that really means is I've given them and set up the expectations for them to understand that this is going to be a really raw, candid, highly accountable conversation where, we come up with some coping mechanisms and talk about some really vulnerable things like I'm their bestie, but that also means I get to be my genuine self. I don't have to pretend to be this, and no offense to any therapists out there that do wear a white coat, but I don't market myself as, and I don't design those touch points to be something that's not genuine to me. And so when people come in here and they do experience the therapy, they're like, oh, wow, you weren't lying. I'm like, yeah, this is what I said you're going to get. And to be honest,
business for a while, you will have seen that space is run in a way that not all other Facebook groups are run. Because the amount of times, and I'll tell this to members, that I've had other members who, have not followed our group guidelines. So we have a very strict set of group guidelines, but it keeps our community flowing. And yes, I can swear like a trooper. However, we don't have swearing in that group because it's
people get upset.
Absolute ton of work for my admin team to come in and fix up the fighting and the infighting. And you would be surprised how much grown adults can fight in between.
Oh no, I'm not surprised at all.
So you go through that area, and there has been times that I have jumped on there in a live stream over the years and gone, I really don't care if we have 100 members or we have 32,000 members, but this is not going to happen. And this is the primary school teacher in me that turns around and says, hey, children, pay attention. And I remember one day that I'd been in my daughter's grade 2 classroom. And I went, I've just had a bunch of grade 2s in front of camera filming for Elmo and Sesame Street that have behaved better than you guys have in the 2 hours I've been out here. What does that say?
Yeah, it says a lot, doesn't it?
It does.
And from a therapy point of view, that's literally adults reverting back to their child state.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Which also
the
fascinates
business does
me.
that to you. It does bring out all of those insecurities and all of those components. Because, I still have it. I've been doing this for 20-something.
You're only 30, but yeah.
Thank you. No, we've been in business. Clive and I have been in business since 2001, but I've been doing marketing for 20-something years. And I still, even now, you'll do something, you'll hand over a program, you'll do something, well, the customer doesn't like it. Okay, good. Well, what did we do wrong? What did we do in doing something? And I've just recently said to my team, we bought ourselves a problem. We bought ourselves the wrong client. We were too generous, or we were doing something inside that space. So where did our marketing go wrong? Where did our moments in our cycle, and this is as much about user experience as everything else, when did we stop sitting and looking at our boundaries and saying these are the type of people we work with, and make a decision that we went off track?
Yeah, I love that word, boundaries.
Yeah.
And it's something, especially when we first start in business, many of us absolutely can suck at boundaries and we want to be everything to everyone. And, my husband is currently in this space at the moment where he's not new to business, but he has just found a new little side hustle, building and creating all sorts of things out of cardboard. And the response from the public has been overwhelming, right? They love it. Everything. Yeah, custom cardboard creations, if anyone's interested in spying it. But he is very much in this space of, should I do this big piece for next to nothing? And I'm like, no. We're going to come up with a minimum viable product. We're going to sell it consistently. And then we're going to reinvest into the business. And then you're going to start, increasing what your capacity is to produce these custom cardboard creations that can take days at a time.
Well, absolutely.
And, we're not going to put the horse before the cart, and we're going to have boundaries. We're not going to let people just say, it's only cardboard, so I'll give you $30, right? When we've just spent 3 days working on this thing. So let alone the materials. And to business owners, especially just starting in business, and to be honest, some of them have been in business for a couple of years and they're still running this no boundary treadmill, trying to be everything to everyone, is the first step into burnout for starters.
Absolutely.
The second step into getting nowhere fast, because there's no real strategy. People are just going to take what they can from you. And where you're designing what we would call your customer journey is where you should really be understanding where those boundaries fall. So if it falls without, on the outside of this expectation of what you're going to deliver, you either negotiate, but you only negotiate to a certain point, And then you have to be ready to let go, because the other part is people can smell the thirst.
Oh, yeah.
Smell it. They're like, oh, opportunists at play.
I'm going to take as much as I possibly can here.
I'm going to take everything I can get and give you nothing in return. And personally, I fell into this trap. I technically started as a PR business and thought I'd put my PR degree to work. I tried to be everything to everyone. Too. And I write in the book about this concept of the field of dreams, which that just shows how old I am. That, you know, I'm not sure if you've seen the movie The Field of Dreams.
Yes, I have seen
it. Right, build it and they will come.
They don't.
And they freaking don't.
They don't come.
They don't come. There's so much other things that have to come into play before, you know, they come. And so I talk about that as an analogy in business in the book, and how we think that if we just set this business up, everyone will just immediately love us and want us. And that's not what really happens. And it does come down to really designing for the desire of the right customer. And as you've just explained, maybe we went for the wrong customer and now we're going to pay for it.
And you've got to work it out. And you work out that. And guys, I'm going to say this, after many years in business, you will do something because you think it's nice to do, or you will do something because you know this person needs XYZ service, or they know that they do that. And, you know, we maybe do it once every 2 or 3 years now. We're not doing it on a regular basis. However, when it happens, it's knowing how to extract yourself out of that customer journey that you've put yourself into, because you put yourself into it. Let's just be really honest. We did it.
High accountability.
You know, and all of those things happen from time to time. And you are going to get them, because there are also people that are really good at going, yes, I am the ideal client you want because I can fit into that space. And then all of a sudden you get them on board and you go, ooh, this.
Yeah. There's a lot of deluded people out there, by the way, who think they are excellent. But
look, and, you know, from my point of view, we've got a couple of clients that, you know, are looking at the moment, and I say, in all honesty, look, I don't think you're ready. So therefore, I'm going to offer you this or offer you this. And if you're really insistent in working with me, here's my membership. Okay, so here's my membership community. This is where you can get touch points. Yeah. It's going to clearly show to you why I think you're not ready right now.
Yeah,
because it's going to overwhelm
the same thing.
And, you know, these are all the things. So when we are designing that customer journey, especially for those of us who are coaches and consultants and are selling our time, because, you know, forget this bullshit about consultants and coaches don't sell time. Even if we've got courses, even if we've got our book offerings, all of that sort of stuff, we are selling time. Like, let's be really honest. We are selling time. And I'm going to bust. We're going to do a whole podcast. That's my next podcast.
Love it.
That's my next rant. But it is a case of wherever we are in business, our time is being sold.
Correct,
okay, so whether you are building a product like your husband is and custom build, we've got to price that time into that area. So I hate it when everyone says we don't sell time, because we do. We're writing a book. There is time in writing that book, putting that material out there, getting out there from, oh God, yeah, I know. Trust me, I'm on number 2 at the moment. I've got a 16-year-old youngpreneur, Siobhan, who I am giving a shout out in this podcast, who wrote her book. I set her the most insane challenge. So she is a beautiful young girl who is on the speaking circuit right now, helping practitioners and that understand how to deal with kids with medical trauma and suicidal thoughts and from her own journey. So she's written she's written the book for the help that she would have wanted from these people. I know. I said to her, I want you to send 100 to me for when you're here in Melbourne running your seminar. I got a phone call at the end of the day going, I have 18 books left.
Good on her, girl.
Right. So, you know, but it's time.
Do it, lady.
She focused 3 months on the time. But I said, honey, you're spending all this time on stage, and all these practitioners, the ones that I saw when I saw her speak first, would have bought a book. The stuff that you've got for kids is amazing, but let's give the practitioners what they need, which is the guide to how to support kids like you.
Oh, God, I love that.
I know. Isn't that such a good story? It's also user experience.
Yeah, the customer experience. And in that sense, we love acronyms, right? Yeah. And that then becomes, in the healthcare system, they don't call it customer experience. They call it patient experience. And so PX.
There's so many X's there.
As long as it's got an X in there, it's about experience. And that's why, you know, I'm on the board of directors for a global association called Experience Management Global Collaborative. So that's all about putting all the X's, the people that work towards the X's under one banner and having them collaborate and genuinely support organizations around the world to really, truly understand the importance of each of those experience management roles. So user experience, for example, relies on somebody being skilled enough to understand digital usage, where why should I put that button over there and make it red and not down here and make it blue? And a lot of that comes down to understanding the human experience and how humans use digital devices, right? And so the customer experience is, it relies on somebody who understands the user experience. It relies on somebody who understands, good people and culture, so the human experience. And so many experience management roles really do directly impact that overall customer experience. And, I talk to businesses often where they'll say, especially when they're in the back in IT and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. They don't need experiences.
They don't have anything to do with customer experience. I'm like, damn straight they do. They absolutely do. And the most common misunderstanding when I talk to businesses about customer experience, they will tell me, oh, you mean like our service? Our service is great. I'm like, no, that's customer service. Customer experience, and I explain it basically, if you had a pie, and customer service would be a very slither of that pie, and you would have systems would be another slither, and your governance, so your policies and your procedures would be another one. And the feedback and the way that you listen and act upon that feedback is another one. And your culture, probably a bigger piece of the pie, to be honest.
Yep.
Your employee experience, huge piece of the pie. And then overall, do those things and the decisions on what to implement and how to act upon them, are they based on a human need? Like, are we servicing central to humanity? And so many organizations are like, I don't know. Not on purpose. And I'm like, well, that's part of the problem, that we're not doing this stuff on purpose. And the really big difference when people start to employ and deploy the tactics around customer experience principles, they're doing it on purpose. And what that then means for them is that everything they're doing becomes repeatable, scalable. It mitigates the absolute shitstorm that everyone thinks growing a business is. Yeah. Right? At the end of the day, growing a business shouldn't be a dumpster fire.
No.
It shouldn't. And if it is, it tells me that you actually aren't doing customer experience on purpose. You're haphazardly did something last week and it worked out well, but this week it's a bit like having a baby, right? Whatever worked yesterday isn't guaranteed to work tomorrow. I've got a nearly 15-year-old and a 3-year-old and perimenopause thrown in the mix. Oh, yeah. So I'm like, just so you know, I went from having a dial to kindness to a flick switch to violence. So don't test me. I'll tell you when it's safe. But the problem is that we don't do these things consciously. We don't do them purposefully. We don't do them to a point where we share the governance and the procedures around them to make sure everyone understands. We don't have systems in place. I'm a really big fan of David Jennings. He has a great book around systems called Systemology. I would highly recommend getting his book and my book and putting them together. If his book and my book had a baby, it would be a beautiful brand.
Beautiful. So we've been talking about, and I know I want to make sure that we stay on time today. And I'm talking forever. We've been talking today about this customer journey and the customer experience and making sure that we bring in humans from a very early point. We've touched on something about employees. Now, I would say to every business owner out there, you've been somewhere where the employees are not happy. The environment has changed. Recently, oh God, you can smell it. But you can also smell the desperation when it comes to marketing. You can smell everything. What we're talking about now is the smell of the fear.
The intuition.
Yep. The smell is out there. So we don't want to have that when it comes to our marketing. We don't want to have it when it comes to our touch points. We don't want to have it, when it comes to our post-sale service from that experience point of view. Now, I'm going to know that there's many listeners out there going, I'm just myself. I don't need to start right now.
Best time to start.
Absolutely. So what
Best time to
advice will we give
start.
the listeners today if this is not something that they have done or we need them to understand? What advice, what's some things that we can give our listeners to walk away with today and go, right, these are the things we need to get underway?
I would certainly say that if you are a micro business or it's just you and maybe one other person, if you're blessed enough, that this is the perfect time to implement things like your customer journey blueprint, understanding the touch points that you want your customers to experience, where you are the boss and nobody can go, no, I don't like that. You're in charge and you have the flexibility to yay or nay a touch point, to assess or be agile if you decide, actually, I thought that'd be really great, but when I spoke to the customers, they value something different. And so where you are on your own, this is a great place to start. The other thing I'd say is really tune in to who your customers are. I just recently went to a seminar out at the Morwell Innovation Centre in Victoria where they talked about a different type of travel economy for businesses where friends and family are considered a untapped segment of customers to sell to. And the selling and the marketing and the servicing of those kinds of businesses is different to, say, businesses who would, market to out-of-towners.
Absolutely.
And I was like, oh my God, my tiny mind is exploding. I love this. I love learning about new potential untapped customer segments. So it's a real activity when you're on your own, starting small, to really tune in to who's walking through your door, who's clicking on your links, where are they coming from, what do they value as a human being, and what is it that they are trying to achieve? What goals have they got? And when you're on your own, I find it's nearly easier to have those really quality relationship building conversations. One of my clients used to own an antique shop in country Victoria, and people would talk to her for like 20 minutes about where they've come from. So she started having a really good opportunity to take in information that helped her understand what's called her customer draw. She was then able to start recording whether or not customers were return customers or referred customers. And she was starting to collect all of this really good quality information. And I'm not joking, it was just her. And it was just a 78-cent activity book from Officeworks and a pencil with columns in it.
And that's all it needs to be.
Start small.
Start small. One of the activities very similar to what you're talking about, I talk with my clients about is I want you to get a Post-it note. And every time you talk to a client who you think is really good, I want you to write it up in that colour Post-it note. I want you the other colour Post-it note. I want you to write it up and put it on the wall in the other one. In the end, where did all the good people come from? Where did they come from? And it's very easy in business. And I'm going to say this when we're looking at our customer journey or we're looking at our customer experience, very easy to focus on the people we don't want. Or the people who cause us pain, or the people who do this along the way. What you've got to look at is also, where are the good ones? Where are the good ones coming from? Where did I find that person? How did I attract that person? What did I do inside my space? What makes that person fit good with us?
Yeah, for sure.
Now, I have a very broad niche of the people that we work with because I say I need a business owner who's going to do something, who wants to do something. That's it for me. I don't particularly care what industry you're in, whatever you are, I will help you navigate your systems and your procedures and your business. And I am very system orientated. And for those of you who are going to put in systems into your business now, it's going to be a pain in the butt for the next little while.
Short-term pain.
And when you bring on clients, the ones who buck your system and don't pick it up, and they will buck, like for the first 2 weeks, they normally buck the system quite a lot. But normally by week 3, they're like, oh, I get it now. I get why you're making me do this.
Change is hard.
Why I'm going through this area. Change is hard. Change is uncomfortable, but change is also where growth happens.
Correct. Yeah. And you've got to give yourself permission to suck a little bit at the beginning. And I think, I far too often see and have experienced in the past just people just being too cruel to themselves and having these over sheer expectations of themselves that they should be software experts by day 2.
Marketing retreats, and everyone's like, you've taught us this 3 times. I'm like, you weren't ready for this. Now you're ready to learn this component.
Yeah.
And I would say, I teach it. Yeah, I teach it all the time. But, until you're ready for the message, you're not going to hear it.
Correct. Yeah.
And until you're ready for the systems. But the conversation on yourself thing, this is a big one that I come from. You got 2 psych trained people here, so have fun with this, guys. You wouldn't talk to your friend like that. You wouldn't talk to your kid like that. And you would not talk to a stranger in the street like that. So why the hell are you doing it to yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because absolutely.
Yourself has to look after those friends.
Yeah.
It has to look after that kid, and it might look after that stranger in the street. And that self person can't do that if you're not supported from the inside out.
Yeah. And I would also say those close to you especially are tuned into you. And I know this sounds a bit woo-woo, but the vibrations that you give off, which is a real thing, the electrostatic that comes from you, or the aura, as the Gen Z kids like to call it these days. People can feel that. And not just, I say smell it, but they can feel that. So if you are not being kind and generous to yourself, and you attempt to be kind to somebody else, it actually scratches their nervous system that something is off. Yep. They can feel the hypocrisy. And so the reality is that it's much easier to not be an absolute piece of shit to yourself than, it is to practice. You need to practice not being a piece of shit to yourself, basically.
Absolutely. Because you wouldn't do it to your team or your staff. Aileen, this has been a great conversation. And as I said, we went a little bit rogue today, but it's been fantastic to do that along the way. So, guys, if you would like to check out Aileen's book, it is The Joy of Sex, but not as the way you would think it is. So, please, Spotify and everyone, let the video go through.
Yeah. CEHX.
I guess, and Apple, guys, we would love that you do all of that and make sure that we can continue listening. From our point of view, we always ask our listeners at the end just a few questions. And I explained to Aileen today why we do this is to prove that we're all just human and we get along inside the space just the same as everyone else. So tea, coffee, or something else? What's your drink of choice?
Daytime coffee.
Yep.
Nighttime, a good Shiraz or a sparkling rosé.
Yep. Definitely with you on that. Fantastic. Okay. What book are you reading right now that you can't put down?
What book am I reading? I am going to be really, really honest and say I'm not reading any books. Oh, actually, no, I just did finish an audio book called Brand Story.
Ah, fantastic. I like Brand Story.
Yes, I've just finished it. But as far as reading, we're 45 days away from publishing.
Oh, well done.
So I haven't been able to read anything except my own. Which feels a bit narcissistic.
I'm reading
a couple
of manuscripts in here at the moment for the same reason. Okay, if you want another audiobook suggestion on that one, if you've not listened to Rory Southern's Alchemy, you would.
Oh, okay. I love that. Really, I love Alchemy.
Yep. So very Rory Sutherland, he's an ad agency from the UK and the US. It's a very good listen to everyone. Good. So there's another audiobook recommendation for everyone today.
Excellent.
Okay, morning person or night owl?
I used to be a night owl. And now I have a 3-year-old, so I'm forced to be a morning person.
That's good. I've always been a morning person, as you guys know. That's why I can work with the US as well as Australia and survived.
Exactly right. It does. The night owl situation does help with the US in some instances as well.
Yeah, and most probably would help you more with the UK. That was the one I struggle with because my brain's kicked off by 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It's like, I'm sorry, exactly. You want me to work?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, unless you caffeinate me again, I'm out of here.
Yeah, I turn up to those meetings with a red wine in hand. I'm like, if you want me, I'm either here with a red wine or a pink fluffy, what do you call it?
Dressing up. I did training in the US recently, and like one of the guys literally was turning up, and it was awesome. So because I was doing it at 7 a.m. in the morning our time, he'd turn up with a different cocktail every time that I was running the training.
I love that for him.
And I'm like, that is so awesome. I love it. And he was telling me which cocktail it was. It was like, look.
Actually, the last US meeting I had, I turned up in my garlic bread hoodie.
Yep. Beautiful.
And all the Americans were like, what is that?
Bring some Australianism to everyone along the way. Okay, what would you tell your past self if you were starting in business today?
You're going to rock it.
Beautiful. And where do you see your business journey in the next 5 years?
My business journey is up on stages, telling thousands of people how to implement the intrinsic joy of sex into their organizations and getting paid handsomely for it.
Nicely done. Should be on the speaking tour, everyone. Watch out. Get your
Absolutely.
tickets. Watch out for it.
Yell out if you need it.
Fantastic. Aileen, thank you for joining us. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into another episode of the Business Owners Podcast. If you have not liked, subscribed, followed, then please do so now. And if you've done all of those and you know someone who would benefit from Aileen and my road talk today about customer experience, please feel free to share the episode with them, because that's how business works. If we share the knowledge, we all grow together. Until next time, I'm Linda Reed Enever. Thanks, Aileen.
Thanks for listening to the Business Owners Podcast. We encourage you to connect with us on social media and join our community of business owners at businessbusinessbusiness.com.au.
Did you know you can opt out of winter? With Vrbo, save up to $1,500 for booking a month-long stay. With thousands of sunny homes, why subject yourself to the cold? Just filter your search by monthly stays and save up to $1,500. Book now at Vrbo.com.